Hello and welcome to my highly impulsive Temu review, things I bought over 6 months ago and what I think of them, what would I order again. Because my Temu video that I posted ages ago now seems to be going gangbusters, and somebody suggested something about the yarn, somebody else suggested something about the crochet hooks, and I thought it's time to do a review. Now if you hear little chirpings going on in the background, it does appear that all of my chickens are out of their cage and it's windy. However, this is what we're going to go with. All right, here's my Temu review. We're going to start with the yarn, because the yarn was the reason why I bought from Temu in the first place. I can 100% say this is worth it. I mean, it turned out to be not particularly cheap compared to what I could get over here, but it's plush yarn, which is much harder to get in New Zealand. Now, comparing it to Hobie's Honey Bunny, it's about twice the thickness. So Hobie's Honey Bunny recommends having a hook size of 7mm. Now that's quite extreme. I tend to use about a 5 with the Honey Bunny, 5 or a 6 depending on what I'm making. This here is a much fatter plush yarn. I don't recommend it for your first project as I discovered, because it's really hard to deal with when you try to undo it, because when you undo it the yarn has a memory and it's going to stick to that. However, if you've got a fat hook, this one was worth getting. I've been knitting bees. Well, not knitting bees, I've been crocheting bees out of this ball here. I've got about half of it left. The same with the black, about half of the black left, and it just feels like it's going on and on. It had a similar weight when felt to the Honey Bunny, but the Honey Bunny is much thinner. The Honey Bunny is softer, and it is just one straight tube yarn length. Now if we have a look at this one here, it doesn't make much of a difference when you're actually crocheting, but what you might be able to see is there's almost like a seam line that runs down the yarn. It's very definitely there. That isn't present on the Hobie one, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference, particularly if you're using it to make those tiny $5 to $6 plushies to sell at markets, that sort of thing. I would recommend this yarn. Of the other things I would totally recommend from my Temu haul, these safety eyes. Now I bought several sets of safety eyes. I'm just going to make sure this lid's closed completely, or we're going to have safety eyes everywhere. I bought this set and I bought this set. Now this set has got several squares that are the same size, some that are small, some that are big. This set here, as you can see, I've mostly used this size and this size, but I'm not really going to get around to using any of these noses. The coloured eyes I haven't really used, so I'm not going to order this one again, but I will definitely order this one again. This has proved to be totally well worth it, and I think it was around about $3, so it wasn't expensive. My apologies for the wind, but the wind is a much welcome relief from all of this heat. Also in the category of I would recommend, my packet of Temu crochet hooks. Now the crochet hooks themselves, she says, pulling out the 10mm. They've got a space for your thumb. They've got a decent shape hook. They're nice and smooth. They don't have any edges that get in the way of anything. They're fine. They're 100% fine. I think they're a step up on just the standard metal ones, because they're a little bit easier to hold. So I would recommend getting these. These are not my go-to crochet hooks. I still have the clover ones, which are my absolute go-to. But for sizes that I don't use fairly often, these are pretty good. The set was about $10. There's 10 crochet hooks, I think, or was it 8 crochet hooks? That's a good question, because there's 9 crochet hooks in here at the moment, so I've probably already lost one. But I'm not particularly worried about it if I have lost any. because, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, so I would recommend those. Of the things I would not recommend the cashmere yarn. Now, the cashmere yarn is not cashmere yarn, it's just bizarre. I don't like it. One of the commenters posted on this original video about the cashmere yarn that she tried to dye it, and it didn't take the dye very evenly, so it's an acrylic blend with something. It's not particularly soft, it's not such a good deal when you look at the length of it. I haven't used it yet, but it's just gone on the back of the box that will be used at some point, but not anytime soon. So the cashmere yarn, don't waste your time or your money. The other one not to waste your time or your money on are the sock blockers. I was initially very excited by the sock blockers because they've got this, oh, she says putting it the wrong way up, interchangeable length. The problems are multitudinous here. There are no size gauges on these whatsoever. Also, this is wafer thin. Like, these here are so thin that I've been afraid of breaking them. And the idea of putting thick socks on these, just no. It's also a really skinny foot. Now, I had my dad make me these over when I first started making socks. So 3 years ago. It's 3 times the thickness. Yes, 3 times the thickness. This is a laminated 3-ply ply, and this is like a 1-ply ply. Dad's one is my foot size. He just downloaded a laser cutting template in size 41 European. So this is my size. This here is skinny, which, if we line them up this way, the smallest size that it does is not much smaller than mine, and it comes out again. If I was to take it up to my partner's size, wherever that is, it's going to be further up here. This foot is fatter, so just stretching the toe out further, not going to help. Yeah, so I do not recommend these whatsoever. I think this was the biggest waste of money. The other thing I got was the crochet granny square blocking mat that I have used. I've used it, it's worked well. My only issue with it is that I have to put it in a box. I don't need it very often. It can fit about 4 small granny squares, or you could put a lot of them stacked up high. It's useful, it's got the little pins, it's much cheaper than any that I could find elsewhere. It's made of wood, and unlike this, it doesn't feel like it's going to break every time you use it. So, would I recommend knitting and crochet supplies from Temu? Not really, but it's a hit and miss game. I would say watch a lot of reviews, because this yarn is worth it, but you do have to be aware of what needle or hook size you're using. You're playing a game of yarn chicken constantly, as there's no yarn lengths, there's no yarn gauge, there's no weight to the ball, there's none of that information. The safety eyes, 10 out of 10, would recommend, best place to get them by a long shot. And the crochet hooks, definitely worth it, as they're great backups or for the sizes that you don't use so frequently. So that's my thoughts on my Temu purchase from months back and how it's been going so far.